Okay. This is a different thing altogether. Um, so hopefully folks will find me. Little bit of a confusion on my part there. I thought that, well, I don't know, whatever was happening on the other stream was not working. So I came over here, which is supposed to be an easier way to live stream things. So my name is Jeff Rolka, and I want to thank you for checking in with the live event this Saturday evening. If you've chosen to subscribe, I want to thank you very much in advance for doing so. And if you haven't yet, I'd like you to encourage you to think about that and maybe choose to do so now. You can click the link that's on screen. If you've got a question, there's a chat window and you can type them into the chat, and that would be great. So I always encourage people to send out questions in advance, and I have those right here. And I'm going to get started with that right now. This person happens to be in the southern hemisphere, so it's winter there, and by the looks of things in England, actually, you would guess that it was winter here as well. And they write, "It's winter now, and my voice is very much affected by it. It is sometimes cut out while singing, which is a big deal, during cold mornings, and gets raspy, weak, and strained." This article described what happening. There's a link that they included here. And the article talks about like cortisone shots and some fairly invasive methods to work with the voice. And they write they prefer natural remedies. And some questions. Is this all related to the cold atmosphere, or is it most likely due to inadequate airflow, engagement, alignment? And B, how can I sing with more strength, power, and resonance no matter what the temperature, and do it consistently? I notice this every autumn and winter. Well, there's a couple things there. I mean, one, in the article, it was a doctor's website that it went to, an ENT who had specifically an interest in singers, and natural remedies are great. However, in the article, they were talking about postnasal drip and a lot of, medical issues that go along with it. And if you have those things, oftentimes a postnasal drip can really, really negatively impact your voice. And if you have that going on, you might have to resort to medical means. But that's not something that I can prescribe for you. I've never, in the case of this particular person, I haven't heard them sing. I don't know what they sound like, and I don't know all their what's going on exactly. And so, if you have a legitimate medical condition, then you may need to see your doctor and have a referral to an ENT. Some natural remedies for the winter months. I mean, stay warm. Think about warm beverages, but not hot. The main thing is going to be to try to keep your apparatus warm and comfortable and your body warmed up and ready to go. Extensive warm-ups can be helpful in the winter months so that when you do go out on stage and go into your performances, you're very, very well warmed up. Strength, power, resonance, no matter what the temperature. Well, you can never take environment entirely out of the situation. So, in a sense, you're only going to be able to train yourself to a certain degree in terms of how you're going to deal with your environment. So, it goes without saying, in a positive environment, in a comfortable place, in your practice room, whatever, practice these things. Practice the resonance, practice the strength, practice, singing with good airflow throughout all the registers of your voice. Practice good transitions. But when you do go into those environments, preparation is going to mean a lot more than dealing with the outcome. So, as you said, this happens to you every autumn and every winter. Well, take that into consideration going into those seasons. And prepare adequately for it. So know that you're going to need more warm-up time before you take the stage. Know that this is perhaps going to be a problem. So perhaps adjusting the key areas for songs is an appropriate step to take too. If you know that your upper register suffers, and I'm guessing by what you're describing here that it's a safe assumption to say that your upper register is going to suffer to a certain degree, then plan ahead. Lower the keys, if you can, of the songs so that you don't have to go quite so high into your range. Next question they had here is, what is the best way to release as a singer, release voice, release tension, and promote vocal freedom? I've heard that bel canto can help with all of this. How? Could be a whole new video, they say. All my videos are a blending of bel canto techniques. So if you're using my videos on the channel to practice with, then you are practicing bel canto. Hello, Maz. I'm glad that you found me here on this thing. The other live stream, I don't know what happened. It didn't. It wasn't looking like it was working out right, so I bumped over here. Hopefully, people will find it. Mr. Knock 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 1, what's being streamed? It's a vocal hour, so we just talk about vocal issues, and you can write in your questions. So I talk about cultivating release. Release sounds like something we do. You release the voice. But in my experience and in my teaching, it's very difficult to try to tell someone how to not do something. You know, it's the old thing of like, you know, don't think about pink elephants. Whatever you do, don't think about pink elephants. Well, typically speaking, you're going to conjure an image of a pink elephant when someone says that, right? And so what I try to teach is the idea of cultivating release of tension and release of the voice. So all of the exercises throughout the channel, the practice ones and the warm-ups and things like that, are meant to help you cultivate release. They help you focus on airflow and engagement. We get the vowels aligned so that they resonate well, and when we're doing that, then it's a much, much more consistent sound, and we can release more. The tongue will naturally release more when things are formed properly. And so we cultivate that release so that we get really, really good tension-free singing. That means more resonance in the oral cavity. Again, we're cultivating more and more release. And the idea is that in cultivating these things and having the positive impact and the positive input from that release, we go back and we learn to trust our voices in this released fashion, because that release typically feels like so little. It's such a freeing feeling, and we then go back for more and more. So it becomes a cycle where, with better engagement, better alignment, things just keep on going in that direction. We keep on cultivating more and more release. It's not a cut and dry thing. I'm released or I'm not. It's something we're cultivating. How can we aim to sing in those frequencies which would allow our voices to naturally fill a room without a microphone or cut through loud accompaniment? What exercises would be most useful for this purpose? Okay. Well, the frequencies are what's called the singer's formant, and that's around 2 to 5 kilohertz. And that is the area, if you've ever worked in a recording studio and the engineer has made the voice have presence without making it louder, that's because they're adjusting the EQ in that range. This is also the frequency that opera singers will learn to cultivate in their voices so that they project well over an orchestra. Coincidentally enough, orchestras tend to have a dip in their frequency response about in that space, so it works really, really well. At the end of the day, if you want to sound like a popular music singer, then you are probably not going to cultivate that much release. Opera singers have an enormous amount of release and freedom in their voices and exquisite usage of air. They're also changing vowels to suit that cultivation of release. So if you want to be understood and sound like a pop music singer, then a certain amount of that release is not going to happen. In order to sound like we're singing in English, and if we're singing in English, then we're going to sacrifice some of that release. So you can talk about filling a room without a microphone. If you're playing with a rock bands are incredibly loud. It's not going to happen. It's just not. I mean, put any opera singer on stage with a rock band, and you might hear them, but you're not going to hear them over the texture of it. Orchestras are sensitive to the opera singers, and the rooms that they are singing in are also designed to amplify these sounds forward. So it's not a fair comparison. If you're going to sing without a mic, then you need to be conscious of that, and also play or have your band play at an appropriate volume, knowing that if you're singing in the vernacular, you're not an opera singer, then you're sacrificing some volume to be understood and to have a colloquial sound to your voice. But again, we can still cultivate that singer's formant, that 2 to 5K band, and that will make you cut through more, regardless of whether you're using a microphone or not. NG sound is a really good one that I like for that. That sound puts a lot of point and a lot of focus on our voices, and can be very, very helpful in having us heard through loud textures. What do I think about throat coat tea for singers? Throat sprays, vocal steaming, and using humidifiers for the voice. I've heard that some things like throat coat can be numbing, though, which can mask underlying problems. This very quickly gets into a personal preference kind of realm. So some people love throat coat and they swear by it. I've tried it from time to time, and personally, I don't particularly like it. I feel like it does kind of coat my throat. I know that's what it says it's going to do, but I don't like that as much. If I'm going to have any kind of beverage like that, I'll use just a very, very basic echinacea tea with a small amount of honey and a small amount of lemon. Steaming, though, is awesome, and steaming can be amazing if you've got like a lot of gunge in your sinuses and you need to clear that out. That can be really, really excellent, like truly, truly excellent for getting stuff to loosen up. Throat sprays depends a lot on what it is. I mean, you want to talk about numbing your voice. There are some throat sprays that will just numb everything. Like there was one that I used to get when I was living in the US, which is like Chlorocept or something like that. And it was literally like you could use it like as a topical anesthetic. It numbed everything in there, and I don't like that. I don't want anything on my voice that is going to allow me to sing and not be aware of whether or not I am straining my voice. That's the last thing in the world that I want to do. So if I'm too sick to sing, then I'm just not going to sing. But, again, some people really, really like these things and can use them effectively. A lot of times I think it comes down to practice. So if you think that you're going to use a throat spray because you need it, then practice with it too. Don't just use it when you are having problems. Use it during your practice as well. In this way, you can gauge the effect it has on your voice, what it's like to sing when you're using it, and then plan accordingly so that if you do end up needing to use it, you will get results that you have experienced in the past, and you can then expect it and just deal with it moving forward. Humidifiers, steaming, I've covered all that sort of stuff. Natural remedies or processes have you seen work best to improve vocal health without relying on them as a crutch? The best thing is always going to be just room temperature water. I mean, that's what is going to keep us best hydrated and take best care of our voices. So, and just your overall vocal health, and quite frankly, your overall health too. I guess you can drink too much water, so you do want to be careful. Don't go overboard with the water. But room temperature water is what is best for our voices. It's what's best for our overall health, as far as I can tell, and that's what I recommend you use. Room temperature water, nothing special. I have had saltwater gargles recommended to me when I've been sick. This can work as an antiseptic on the voice and kill up all the little germs that can get down there. Yeah, that's about it. But all these like teas and things like that, I tend to shy away from. And particularly too, your experience will vary widely by your own makeup and stuff. Hello, Zoroku. I wouldn't call it new. I wanted to have the other event thing, but it didn't look like it was working properly, and I thought I'd be able to start and stop it, and I couldn't. So I just jumped over here, which is a new thing for YouTube, which is basically like you can go live at any time. So I went live hoping that the people that would normally come to the event would come and find it here. But I'm not even sure where this pops up, like on the channel. I have no idea. But I'm glad that you found it, and thanks for checking in. Hopefully other people will find it too. So yeah, do feel free to type in some questions and things like that in the chat. I can see it down there. I'm just taking care of a list of questions that I got emailed throughout the week. And this is several weeks ago now, and I kept on forgetting about it, is the Capuerto method. And I will briefly address that if I don't get questions coming in via the chat. So, natural remedies and processes. Yeah, saltwater gargle as an antiseptic. Steaming can be amazing for cleaning up the sinuses. Yeah, what kind of issue are you having, Zoroku? Is it with the chat or with your voice? And room temperature water is what it's all about. Now this next question that they typed in is, what are some old wives' tales and myths about the voice and singing that I think should be busted? I could go on for a long time with this one. Probably like there's some biggies. One biggie is this idea, this very, very pervasive idea that we are supposed to stick our stomachs out when we inhale and suck them in when we start singing. I think this is I feel like it's a cop-out for teaching the Apagio breath management system. I guess for some it might work. Yes, this is live 10. Thanks for asking, Zoroku. Like I said, it'll come up in the thing in a minute there. I messed up the actual live event, so this is live 10. So yeah. Wives' tales, right? Sticking the stomach out, like pushing the stomach out and then sucking it back in. You're just moving your guts around. That's all that's happening when you do that. Actual engagement and support for singing is much more subtle than that, and I think the sticking your stomach out and sucking it back in is an easy way of getting people started, but it's ultimately not the way it works best. That's like the biggie. That's the real biggie. And the next biggie is the notion that there's a break in the voice, and what head voice versus chest voice is. This is why when I'm working on upper register videos, I often refer to higher range singing with the musculature, cricothoracic